Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Saturday morning multifamily unplugged, your raw, unscripted real estate information for the week. How are we doing today? Hey, Happy New Year. Boy, I can't believe that we blew through the year and already here we are the first week into the year, and I can't believe how fast it went. You know, I was just telling somebody yesterday, we went to the gym last night and worked out. And yes, I went again this morning, but we went to the gym last night and worked out. And I can't believe that it was just Monday and last night was already Friday night. So it's crazy how fast the time just goes. I am excited about this morning. Before we get into my guest and what we're going to do, I want to ask you if you do me a favor, please jump out to social media, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you get your social media fill. Wherever you get your content, your relevant information, like me, follow me, love me. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe. We never ask for much, and just so you know, too, on Monday afternoon at 2:00 on Clubhouse, we've been doing a multifamily room that, typically we started that room to last about an hour. And now that thing has been running about 3-4 hours on Monday afternoon. So if you have time and you can stop by, great content, hundreds of people from around the country, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. We pull people up on the stage. Also on Tuesday afternoon, we talk about private capital, raising equity, and we typically do that on Tuesday at 3:00 Central Time. So that's all Central Time. So glad that you're here this morning. Let me tell you about my guest. My guest today's name is David Randolph. He's from St. Louis. And here's how I'm going to introduce him. I'm going to tell you that he's a data research junkie. And listen, I believe that in anything we do to increase our marketing, to increase our sales, to increase where we stand, our rankings in the marketplace, we need to be research, right? We need to be data research because you need to know who's looking at what, who's doing what, who's buying and selling. I get accused. I just got accused recently by someone saying I ask way too many questions. Well, you know what? I bet you our guest today, if we ask him how many questions he asks on a topic, is going to tell us a lot. See, that's how we get that research, and that's how we do that. But David Randolph, we're going to talk about short sales today. And, I really believe that there's an impending situation coming in our country, in the economy, that we're going to start seeing more short sales. So this information today will be really relevant for you. I know that you'll be able to take it. You'll be able to work with it, whether you are in the single family space, the multifamily space. I think that it's going to be an overlap. So let me bring in our guest. David, welcome. How are you today?
Good morning, Mike. I'm pretty good.
I'm glad to see you. I'm excited you're here and really looking forward to this conversation. So listen, one question I always ask my guests before I start any episode is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Wow, one single word that, and since I'm not a politician, I can't give you 5 or 6 words. So I would probably have to say dedicated.
Dedicated.
Yeah.
It's like being committed, right? I mean, fully committed, all in. You buy your way in. If I had to ask you right now, what's something that you're truly dedicated to today in your life?
Yeah, I use that word dedicated instead of committed because I think, in my definition, dedicated is one level higher than committed. You could commit to something, but if you dedicate yourself to it, that's a different story. Okay. So for me, I dedicate myself to whatever it is that I'm involved in. Okay. Which is, currently, the real estate area, short sales, training people how to do it, making money myself in it, and just trying to provide I don't want to call it a job because it's not a job. We're entrepreneurs. Okay. We're investors. And so, I'm just dedicated to being the best at what I do. Okay. And so that's what right now, that's where I'm at.
So, great explanation. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your background and your history, how you and your wife got into this business? I know that you come from a pretty high engineering educational background. I think you were a chemical engineer or some sorts of somebody who thinks a lot differently maybe than the average person, right? So
Okay.
what got you into real estate? How'd you get from that life to this?
Well, that's very interesting. I don't want to. It's not a curse. It's just what I am. I'm an engineer, but that's kind of what makes me that data, you know, uh, you know, nerd junkie kind of person. Is that engineers basically analyze things. So my gosh, you turn an engineer loose in real estate, and you've got a firestorm happening. And so that was my background, but really, what happened was. I retired at the age of 42 from my engineering corporate job. And there's a long story behind that. But, basically, I got myself in a financial position where I, didn't need to work. Okay. And so I homeschooled my kids. So I left the chemical engineering field at age 42, homeschooled my kids, and then the problem happened was they went off to college. Now what do? I'm 46. And that's when my wife and I went to a real estate conference for 3 days, fell in love with real estate, learned all about, my gosh, you don't have to work for somebody else,
All right, hang on one second here. So I need to know whose conference you went to, where was that, because that's how I got into real estate too, which is a whole nother story. So I think that there's a lot to be said for that right now.
Well, it was one of those radio show advertisements for a free 3-day event where they sell you a lot of packages at the end of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I even remember exactly which one of the ones, I don't know if it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Fortune Builders. I don't exactly remember who that was, but it was one of those free 3-day things, that you go to, which was great because they gave you an overview of what you could do in real estate. You didn't learn anything about how to do it. Okay, but you learned about the ways that you can participate in real estate. And that's what put my wife and I into the position of short sales. This was 2009. Okay, that was a crisis in our country with foreclosures. Families needed help. They were falling apart. They were losing their homes. And so my wife and I decided to go into real estate because the kids had left. Financially, we didn't have to work for a corporate job, so I was blessed in that position. I didn't have to take a leap of faith like some people are able to do in real estate. So anyway, we started learning how to do short sales and just got really good at it. And we thought, wait a minute, what do we do with the house after we buy it? So we had to learn how to rehab. So we learned how to rehab. Now we had, everything we needed from the end to the beginning. If you know how to rehab, then you can basically do rental, you can do wholesaling, you do anything in between. But basically what I do now is, I rehab about 5 to 10 houses a year. All my renovated houses have sold in 7 days or less at list price or higher for 11 years, Mike, 11 years. All my homes, they're drop dead gorgeous. Now, let me clarify, all the homes under 265,000 here in St. Louis, Missouri. I've done some $400,000 houses and they didn't sell in 7 days, but they did sell at list price. Anyway, I make $50,000 to $150,000 profit on each house.
Wow.
By negotiating.
Hey, all right. So let's back up here a little bit. This show, I get a lot of new listeners. I get a lot of people coming in the real estate business, right? Let's explain to them what a short sale is. Okay.
Yes.
And I just have one quick comment here, though. So obviously, you never went back to chemical engineering. You real estate, you hit a home run with it, and you just kind of keep going, right? So good for you. I think that's great.
Yeah, and so a short sale is a little bit misdefined in the public. A lot of people say that it's where you have a mortgage on your house, and that you owe so much on that mortgage that you can't sell your house and pay it off. That's the traditional definition, that you owe more than what your house is worth. And therefore, how can you sell it and pay off the debt? So therefore, you're short. You're a little short on money. Well, that's not really the right definition. People need to understand it's actually all the debt they owe. It's not just the mortgage. It's any second loans they have, any tax liens, HOA liens, and other debts that's in there. And so that's where people get in trouble, is that it's really the total debt that makes them a short sale. And so what happens is I simply work with a homeowner and negotiate with the bank. So these are not houses listed on the MLS with a realtor. This is not going through the MLS. This is going straight to the homeowner, working with them, authorizing you to speak to the bank. And then I'm really, really good at convincing the bank that, hey, you guys made a huge mistake. It's not worth what you thought it was. Yes, it's been torn, it's worn, it's got repairs needed, but you have to look at the value of this home. You made a business mistake, and now you have to own up to it. So you have to change what you owe for that house to what it's actually worth. And then that's what gets the family out of the debt, that gets some money to move. And then you are able to buy the house, fix it up, and sell it for a lot of money because you brought value to that subdivision, to that house. You brought it back into a lendable condition, which so in the end result is the banks love you because you're now getting a bad debt off of their books that was non-performing. And then you are finding a buyer who's going to get a loan for a lot of money on it that the bank ends up kind of loaning out on. So they end up really liking you in the end. Is the way things worked out. But that's a super fast nutshell of what a short sale is.
So is a short sale just something that's unique to St. Louis, or can you find a short sale in any market in the country?
Oh, it's absolutely federal. As a matter of fact, the whole negotiation process is federal. You may hear some people talk about, well, I'm in a judicial state or non-judicial state, which means to foreclose on a family, to take that house and steal that house away from the family. You either have to go through a judge to do it, or you can do it just by filing a notice. So those are two things you hear, but that only affects the marketing of how you find the person. In a judicial state, it takes much longer for the bank to take the house away than a judicial state. But the process of paperwork and everything else is identical because that is federal, and it's absolutely across the United States. I mean, there's foreclosures everywhere, especially now due to the pandemic.
Do you work just in St. Louis, or do you work in other markets?
Oh, no, I do other markets. I actually now, I talked about, rehabbing houses. I've been blessed to, earn almost $3 million in my retirement accounts that I lend out to other rehabbers. I'm actually now teaching other people how to do short sales. So that's my latest phase, in my entrepreneurship. And I love actually teaching people. And I've got students in 5 states, doing short sales. So you can do it, in many states. You just have to look at find the foreclosures.
It's awesome. We're going to tell people how to get a hold of you too later on, so they can talk more about what you teach and about your lending and that. And that's actually how I originally reached out to you. Was I saw you on LinkedIn, and I'm a huge networker, David. I love to meet people. I love to interact, and especially people in the real estate space. We're all kind of going in the same direction. And so, whether we're short sales, multifamily, residential, whatever, it's still all kind of in the same direction. And I reached out to you thinking, wow, you might be a private lender for some passive multifamily deals that we were doing. And then we got talking about this. I said, boy, would you want to be on my show so that we could talk about this? Because I think that this is just one of those spaces. Let me ask you this. I know when I was in the real estate business, doing real estate sales years ago, the market was very conducive for short sales. And I did a bunch of them as a realtor. Is that market coming back? Is it, where is it at today, and where do you see it going? We've kind of already established, hey, you can do this in any market. How do you determine it? How do you find it? Let's talk about the market first before we go to any of those other gymnastics. But, how robust is the short sale market today, and where do you see it going in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I tell you, this is unprecedented times. You're very experienced. You remember 2009 and 10 and foreclosures, and then short sales were big. But it was a declining market, right? Well, picture this. We have even more foreclosures now than we had then. And what else do we have? We have a lack of inventory across the board. home prices are rising 18% year over year. So picture this, you're buying houses really cheap. Now you can sell them for even more money. We didn't have that in 2010. We have over 1 million homeowners in trouble, not able to make their payment on their house. The national foreclosure rate is 4% right now. The normal one on a normal basis is 0.5. We have nearly 10 times the number of potential short sales, 10 times the number of foreclosures coming up. Okay, and forbearance ended July 31st of 2021. So for 18 months, there was hardly any foreclosures because of the moratorium. That ended July 31st. And they are now doing a foreclosure in what are called tiered levels. And so the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has dictated to all the banks how they go about foreclosing on these 1 million people. And that's taking place now over the next several years, because you can't possibly process 1 million foreclosures instantly. There's just no staffing to do it. So I think it's an amazing time. I don't want to say it's the greatest transfer of wealth in 10 years, but it just might be for us real estate investors. If you're there to help families out, get them out of a crisis, get them some money to move, get the debt wiped from their records so they don't owe any money, and then you can be there to take that house, and maybe you're a wholesaler, maybe you're a rehabber, it doesn't matter. I buy a house for $29,000 and sell it for $275,000.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of opportunity, and it's not just a sudden thing. It's going to be taking place for the next couple of years.
So why would a homeowner, if you can buy a house at discounted like that and sell it retail at an accelerated cost, why doesn't the homeowner just sell the house themselves?
That's real interesting. First of all, Black Knight is a data organization that I get some of my research from. So out of these FHA loans in America, 4% of FHA loans are in foreclosure. Out of those, which 4% is an unprecedented number in this country, out of those, 29% are underwater. They owe more than what it's worth. So people say, well, home prices are going up, but here, remember, I'm an engineer. It's math. What is a short sale? It's two numbers you subtract from each other. And so it's what can you sell the house for minus the debt owed. And people say, well, like you just said, Mike, home prices are going up so high. Well, what you don't know or understand or realize from the data is that the debt's going up faster. They didn't pay any payments for 18 months. So the debt has gone up faster on some of these houses. So, for example, the statistics are 29%. 1/3 of all of those FHA delinquent loans are underwater and cannot even possibly sell their house. It's impossible to sell it when they owe more than what it's worth. So that's basically what's happening, in this country with that, and why it's you can't just say, well, prices are going up. They can't sell their house. Now, here's another statistic. And this is like over the last 30, 40 years, of all the people who are behind on a mortgage, they've had trouble. They lost a job. It's health issues. Some make poor decisions, right? So they don't always think very straight. They have difficulties. There's a lot of other factors in their life. So getting to the statistic, out of all the people who could sell their home instantly on the market and pay off their debt, out of all those, 40% will go to foreclosure. 40% will not make that decision because they can't think. They're trying to get on their job and not lose their job. They can't function enough to get the house cleaned up, get the data on the house ready. They can't find a realtor that they trust. They can't do a lot of things. And 40% will let a home with equity in it go to foreclosure on top of the ones that are underwater. So it's an amazing area that investors can really step into. And that's why my wife and I did this in 2009, is you need to be there to help these families out of a crisis. And you can step them through the process to get the debt removed from their name. Never, ever do a short sale if that debt remains on them. Never do a short sale.
That's the big key right there. And that's the thing that I always told people when I did a short sale was, hey, we need to make sure that we're getting this wiped off. We don't want a venture capital fund coming in and buying this debt and in 5 years coming after you for the difference. And, there's all kinds of that stuff that happens. Here, let's back up for a minute. You said that in a normal market, and I think this is what I heard you say, in a normal market, 0.5% of the
all the loans
go to short sale or foreclosure.
Foreclosure, yes.
Today it's 4%.
Yeah. Well, today that's what's delinquent. It's not in foreclosure because they can't process 1 million people instantly. So it's a process of foreclosure where you have time to step in to help the family. And so the banks aren't staffed to instantly foreclose. It's going to take them years to go through the process. So you can step in. See, every single foreclosure is a failure of a short sale. It's a failure of somebody listening to this broadcast now live or later, wherever you post it. You're good at where you post it, but listening to that and not stepping in and helping that family out. Every foreclosure is a failed short sale that you didn't step up and help.
Hey, give me that phone number where people can text you at, David.
636-685-2990. I can send you a free video on what short sales are and send you the slides and why you should consider doing them. It goes in, it's a technical, nerdy kind of thing. It's, you just kind of see why families are in this position. You learn about the more definitions of what a short sale is, but I share that with anybody I talk to. The whole pandemic, I've been speaking to people and sharing that presentation that kind of teaches you what short sales are. And it might not be for you. If you don't want to help families out, if you're just in it for the money, that's not for you then. This is for you to step up and bring value to the real estate industry and help people out of a crisis.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. So can we talk a little bit about how do you determine a short sale and where do you find them today?
In that presentation, I'll show you exactly where to go. And I'll tell you right now, the thing that you have to do is go to the direct source. And what that means is that every single county in the United States of America has a legal newspaper. So you go to the legal newspaper for your county that you live in, and those are posted publicly. So Missouri, it's posted for 21 days. Georgia, 30 days. Texas, 21 days. Illinois, 90 days. So for a certain number of days, they will post the name and address of the person who's about to lose their home in the legal newspaper for the county that the house resides in.
So like I think here in Chicago, it's called the Law Bulletin or the Law Journal is what it used to be called. Legal News is right. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. Cook County. Yeah. I'm not sure which county you're in, but Cook County. Yeah.
Those are those pretty big ads, right? I mean, they're not ads, but postings. I mean,
it's legal.
They're long. You really got to read through them to extract the information you need, right?
Well, it's because it lists the date of the deed of trust or mortgage. It lists the address of the house, the person that had the original loan, the date of the original loan, then the legal description, which is that longer version of, this distance by that, So it's got to be it's a legal posting. Now, of course, in each of these counties, you can get this, in aggregated data. So some newspapers, you pay a $20 a month fee and you can export that to Excel, so you don't have to read the fine print. But certainly, that's where you can find them. And I don't talk about going to, www.foreclosureme.com and some of these aggregators. I teach you to go to the direct source, the place where it's legally posted and it's not old information. It's not late. You go to some of the aggregators and, they're going to be late. They're not going to update them. You go to the source of where they come from. And that's what I teach. And that video itself actually even shows you how to do that for St. Louis County, but it's similar to Cook County and other counties.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And do you work nationwide or do you just work in your market?
Oh no, I'm very active in Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm in other cities, and here's what I do in those cities is, I tell people I will pay you $2,000 for your dead short sale lead. So all these wholesalers, they get excited, they get a deal with the homeowner, find out they owe more than it's worth, and they get all mad, because now they can't buy the house. And I'm like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I will pay you 2 grand at closing for that short sale lead because I'm that good at short sales that I will give you that money at closing because I'll negotiate a short sale for me and I'll buy that house for $29,000, put 80 in it and sell it for 275. Actually, I wholesale my houses for 80 grand. If I don't do any work to them, I wholesale them for 80 grand. If I rehab them, I usually make 150 grand. And that's because when you know how to do the short sale negotiation method that I do, that I've done for 11 years. And the banks gladly, they force me into paying 29,000. They tell me I have to pay that price. Okay. They're a big 600-pound gorilla. They know what they're doing. And I help them with what they need. They determine it in their best financial interest. And then, I buy that house for the price they force me to pay for it.
So I want my listeners to hear what you said, okay? Because a lot of times people say, how do I go make some money in the real estate business? Where do I get it? Where can I go get a jump start? How can I get started? And I just want people to understand right now what you said, that if they were to go out, pick up a law bulletin, sit down and scan that law bulletin, start knocking on some doors, get some people involved in their conversation, they could sell those leads to you for $2,000.
Yes. I mean, that's if you want to just think small and just make 2,000, that's
Yeah.
great. I'll
And,
make
and
yeah.
and I'm simply talking about the investor who's just trying to get their feet wet in the business. Hey, listen, you need to make $20,000. Go find 10 of these next month. And from what you're saying, David, they're out there. Here's what I want to know. Where's the market going to go? Where do you see this whole market going? I mean, here we are, the beginning of 2022. We're in a robust market. I know in the multifamily space, cap rates are continuing to compress, pricing is going higher. But where do you see the market going over the next 20 months?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, we could do a whole nother podcast on that, but I'll keep it really short. Until the months of inventory of single family homes increases, we will be in a position where it's nearly impossible for the bubble to burst. I'm just going to be very bold in my statement. There's a lot of factors like interest rates, salary income levels, and things, but you track the number of months of inventory. So a normal month of inventory is 6 months. That's a normal buyer seller single family residential market. And so we busted back in 2007 and 8 at 12 months. So here, real quickly, 6 months is normal. Okay. You go up to 9 months of inventory, you get a little worried. And then at 12 months, the whole market crashed in 2008. 12 months of inventory. We are at 2 months of inventory right now. 2 months, Mike. We could take every single foreclosure of 1 million people, throw it on the market today, and it would only take us on inventory from 2 months to 4 months. We would still be 2 months short of the 6 month normal. We are so far away from a crash or a bubble bursting. And so watch that number. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We got an amazing opportunity for investors out here. I'm funding. I mean, there's just so much opportunity, and home prices are rising. Interest rates are staying low. There's just a lot of other stuff that goes with that, but the ultimate canary is your number of months of inventory.
What's your ROI from in your self-directed IRA? What is your ROI on a typical short sale that you fund for someone else?
Well, I mean, as far as what interest rates I charge, because the person doing the short sale is making, 50 or $100,000.
No, 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 no. What I'm asking is what's your return on your investment? So are you making 20%? Are you making 10% on your money? What are you
Well,
looking?
Mike, I'm very unusual. Okay, so my ROI is 42% on an annual
Oh,
basis. No, but there's a reason for that. It's because my heart and passion is to lend to new rehabbers, because I'll lend them all the money to buy the house, all the money to fix it up, all the money for the points on the loan, and all the money for the monthly interest payments. So they need no money. My heart and passion is for new rehabbers to get started, to be able to quit their corporate job. So it's a very unique lending program. I then give you my SKU numbers, contractors, material suppliers, and there's a whole lot of other things. If people want to know about that, they can text the word lend to me, and I'll give you my lending document. But this is just very kind of unique way that I can give back to the society and the real estate community, because so many people are disenfranchised. You don't need a tax return, you don't need a credit score. So what I do is very unique. Personally, for me, this is where I want to be with my $3 million in my retirement accounts.
yeah, nice. And I want people to pay attention to that little piece of this conversation. And if you have to go back and rewind this and listen to it again, I want you to understand what David just said, because this is where you could go as an investor. You could do some of these short sales, build up your capital in a self-directed IRA, fund them for someone else, and now you have created a mechanism that allows you to make 40% a year on your money. I mean, that's just, it, it, it's incredible. And David, my hat's off to you that, that you've done that. I mean, listen, I have a best friend who's up in Detroit, and he was an engineer, and he owns about 80 single family properties right now. And, you know, there's a lot to be said for the buy and hold model, for the long-term rental model, for the fix and hold model. But there's a lot to be said for what we're talking about right now. And I really believe that, an investor that could come to the table right now and partner with you in a specific market and do a couple, 3 or 4 of these a month, is really going to be able to scale their business relatively quickly. And everybody wins. And here's what I like about real estate. And what I always say is, I love the art of the deal, right? I love putting a deal together, structuring a deal. But if it's not a win-win for everybody involved, it's no deal, right? We can't do it. So that's really what I try to teach people a lot, is we have to create a win-win. And somebody pulling up next to you and partnering with you, I think, would be a win. But also, how do we make the seller win as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where we started. You need to have a heart for the families. Don't call the family up and say, "Hey, David Randolph said I'm going to make $50 to $150,000 profit. Can I do a short sale on your house?" That's not what you say to them. You need to have a heart and passion to get them out of their financial situation. You get them more time to stay in the house while you're negotiating, and then the bank can pay them some money when they leave, and the debt's completely forgiven. For them. So that's what they need to hear, is how you can help them out of a crisis.
That's interesting you said that. A lot of times it comes down to the scripting, the language, what we say to somebody, right? A lot of times people don't even want to pick the phone up and call somebody or knock on a door, because they just don't know what to say. And once somebody learns what to say, and they learn the languaging and they learn the script, will you teach somebody that? Will you teach somebody what to say? If they called you up and said, "Hey, David, I want to do this. I want to pull up next to you and see if we can help each other," would you teach them those scripts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's if you like we said earlier, if you text short SHORT to my phone number, that hour and a half presentation and slides will tell you half of what you probably need to even tell a homeowner. Okay. Now it's not everything, because in an hour and a half presentation, you don't teach the whole business of short sales there, but it's an intro to short sales. And so even that presentation right there will give you a feel for the kind of knowledge you need to have to be able to help families out. It's really simple. There's a lot of steps to it. Okay. But when you know those steps, you can really do a lot of good for families and to help them out. And kind of remember this, you're going to, just even with that presentation, or a little bit with being in the real estate industry, you're going to know more than they do. And they're about to lose their house. What choice do they have but to work with you, right?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, that's the thing. They're going to lose it anyway. So don't promise them anything. Don't promise that I will stop the foreclosure. Say, look, I'm going to help you postpone the foreclosure, and find out if we can do this. So don't overpromise, and make it really clear to them. If you're scared, contact me, get a hold of me. It's more of, just, having a few pieces of information, that can help stop that, foreclosure. And then you, of course, may panic after that. What do I do now? But that's why I'm here. That's just what I do now, is teach other people. I love it. Matter of fact, just I'm going to actually cut my 10 rehabs down to 5. So my resolution for 2022 is to limit my rehabs to 5 a year instead of 10, because I love teaching other people how to do short sales, my method, the way I've been doing it for 11 years. I love it when, I've got, now this is a little different, but I have one-on-one coaching students making $100,000 on their first short sale. Okay, the banks are dumping the houses right now because they've been forbidden from foreclosing for 18 months. And when you come in as an investor with an offer on that house, they want to accept it. Really low offer. And so they are dumping the houses because they've been forbidden from getting out of the bad debt for 18 months.
Yeah.
They can't sell the house because they don't own it. So when you come in with a purchase sale contract and present it the way I can teach you to do, then the banks will, accept. I've lost 5 short sales in 11 years. 5 in 11 years. Okay.
Wow. And when you say you lost them, how did you lose them?
They went to foreclosure. So what happened was, well, one of them, there's a lot to it, but one of them is you never let the bank come to the house and do the appraisal without you being there, because what happens is they walk in and they walk right back out, and then they say it's the average of all the houses in the subdivision, when in reality the roof leaks, the basement's cracked, and all these other things that you need to make sure the bank is aware of. And so I lost those because the homeowner let the appraiser show up on their own and come to the house, and I wasn't there. And so they turned in a value for the home that was incorrect, and it was 3 days before foreclosure. I couldn't stop that. So there's been like 5 examples of that over 11 years. This isn't we're going to get 20% of these. This should be a 90-95% rate for you to be successful in short sales. It's a method.
Isn't that, and it's just one of those things right here. So let me just ask a couple numbers here real quick. How many short sales have you done over the years?
I've only done about 100.
Okay, so you've done 100. So you've done 95% of what you've started out. I mean, that's a huge reality, right? That's a huge reality. Yeah. People need to understand. Listen, you looking for something with a little bit of success in it? This will give you success. Let's talk about coaching for a minute. I love coaching. I'm a coach. I teach people in the multifamily space coming into business how to be, but you're a coach in what you do. I'm going to ask you, and please, if you don't want to share this, that's okay. How much do you charge for your coaching program, your one-on-one coaching program?
I have a lot of different levels. So, if they go to my website, I got an entire workshops tab under trainings, and they can start out. I've got $1,000 basic short sale online portal that will teach you everything from A to Z on how to do short sales, with people that are in foreclosure. So that's $997 on my website. It's A to Z. There's other workshops there, but I want to say you do not need to take any of those. They're for various other reasons. So they can learn the entire process just by that online portal. Now, what it is, it's an all-day. It's 20 video lessons that takes an entire day. It's an evergreen portal that I can update with new information, and stuff like that. So they can learn this whole detailed process just from that basic short sale workshop on my website.
All right. So here's what I want people to get right now. Okay. So for $1,000, you could go out on your first deal and make 100,000. If my math is right, and we all know I've been in trouble for math errors in the past, but if my math is right, that's about 100,000% return on your investment. So, you know what? I don't see it not being worth it, right? Even because knowledge, I'm such an advocate for knowledge.
Right.
And we can get knowledge, right? We can take this knowledge in, but then the next step is execution. Like, can we go and execute on what we've learned? And that's where the power, I think, comes in. Knowledge is potential power, but the real power is in the execution. So will you hold somebody accountable to execution? One of the things I do in coaching is I hold my coaching clients accountable. So that if they come back next week and they haven't, I live in this city, so, and if they come back next week and they haven't followed through, it's a little different conversation then. And, but I want to stretch my clients, right? And I think you're doing the same thing. So
yeah, I even actually yell at my clients privately because, they will post on Facebook and they'll even credit me, which is why I have to yell at them because they're crediting me for, they took my basic workshop and they wholesaled a house for $40,000, and people are blowing up the post. Oh, great, Arnie, great, George, all these things. And I sent them a message and said, that I wholesale for 80 grand. What did you quit for? Why did you give up with the bank? Well, it was 40 grand. I'm like, no, but you could have got 80 grand. So yes, I hold them accountable in all ways, even when they are successful, and when they don't understand that they could do better. So
right.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing is to help people, use and understand, what you're teaching them.
Yeah. All right, well, let's do this. We're about 45 minutes in. We usually run about 45 minutes or so. So why don't you tell people, David, any last thoughts or secrets that you might want to share, and let them know how they can get a hold of you and, get a hold of maybe some of your coaching stuff and, what maybe a next step for the listener might be.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you have a heart to help families out, and you want to get out of your day job and be in real estate as an investor, you need to make a decision on how you're going to buy houses. And for me, short sales is a way to satisfy several things. That's a way to help families out and make a tremendous amount of money in today's market. So, if you go to my website, thedavidrandolph.com, you can find my workshops on there. You can communicate with me through there. You can get that hour-and-a-half video and slides on how to find these short sales and more about what they are. And so you can just, I'm just a regular kind of person. If you text short to the number right now, I'm not going to be able to send it to you because I'm talking to Mike. That's my personal number there. But I'll send you the slides after we get off of wherever we're on now. What this YouTube? I don't know what we're on, but whatever your whatever you put me on here, and so basically just go to my website or text short or the word lend, LEND, to my phone number, and I'll give you my 4-page PDF lending document. I lend all across the United States. My heart and passion is for new rehabbers. Or text short to me, and I'll help you get started.
Awesome. Hey, and just so you know, we're live on Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, and we're live on YouTube this morning. I'll make sure that you get a copy of this when we're done. Hey, David, thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate you, your world of knowledge and a wealth of knowledge. And sometimes I just think that that's so priceless for people. And, I think that the number of people that stayed tuned in this morning, and it's been a pretty good number of people, we're here because of the information that we are providing. And you know what? All I always say is, hey, how much information can I give away that people can learn and gain from? So I'm glad to have partnered up with you this morning to do that. You mind hanging out with me for a few minutes? I'm going to move you back into the
Sure.
room.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
You bet, David. Hey, everybody, there you have it. So that was my morning with David Randolph, a short sale expert. He calls himself a data research junkie. He's from St. Louis. But if you want to get into the real estate space, if you are trying to figure out how I can go make a little bit of money in order to get into the multifamily space, this could be a great entry point for you. You know what? David's information is still scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and write that phone number down. Text him short, text him Len. See if you can't pull up next to David, partner with him a little bit and how that may help you. Hey, listen, always remember too that if you're in the Chicago market, or region, and you're looking for new property management this year, Urban REI is your property management solution. If you're unhappy with communication, if you're unhappy with the performance that you're getting right now, give Urban REI a call. We have over 40 years of property management experience, managing thousands of units from the residential to the multifamily space. And whatever we can do to bring a solution to you and your investment properties to help solve that, we'll want to do that. Hey, we're here every Saturday morning. It's a new year, 2022. I want to partner with people and help you kick it out of the stadium this year. And whatever we can do to help you do that, don't hesitate to reach out. You can always find me at mycoreintentions.com. Email me direct at mike@mycoreintentions, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.